What's up, guys? Marcin here, and right before I go live, I have those like the counters on 3 minutes, and just reorganizing everything, Windows, getting everything ready to serve you guys. Hi, it's Thursday. It's 12:01 p.m. Eastern, at least. And I was kind of fumbling here because typically what I do is I have the comments enabled on Facebook. So when you're watching on Facebook, when you leave comments, it feeds directly into my comments here, my chat, so I can talk back and forth. On YouTube, because it's also live on YouTube, I didn't have that option, so I was just trying to figure out, can I open the same thing on YouTube and interact with anybody that happens to be watching live. If you're not watching live, there's always a comments path. And if you guys have any questions about the topic that we're talking about, any previous videos or questions for just in general, how do I build photography business? You can always leave it in the comments. I always, after doing the live, I always go back and just review it because it helps me tremendously. Because then I can see like, oh, folks are interested in this particular area, whether it's, I don't know, camera, branding, Facebook ads, business in general. You get the point. So yes, you can go and leave comments. I will start. I will actually scan things here, just so I can respond to you guys as soon as possible as I'm talking. It's okay to sometimes even interrupt because it helps with clarification. But why am I here? So my name is Marcin. I've done photography for the last 17 years. And every Thursday, I essentially go live at lunchtime, Eastern Standard Time. And I share all I always say there's no one silver bullet to solve this, the problem of building photography business. There's no one single silver bullet. It's all, a bunch of like golden BBs. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So every week you'll see me here, well, on Facebook or YouTube, and soon. Well, I shouldn't spoil the surprise yet, but you can actually hop on, join, and just tune in. It's always advice related to building a photography business. So you have a camera, you probably feel comfortable with the camera. Maybe you know a little bit of editing, maybe not at the pro level, but you know kind of your way around. And now you're trying to monetize. It's like, how the heck do I make money with this thing? Or maybe more money with this thing, because some of us maybe have tried. Maybe we made $50, $100, $250, and it's time to go to 3K and 4K and 5K. And now things are getting a little challenging, right? So that's exactly what I'm doing. I always share a piece of information. It always falls within, I want to say like 7 different buckets: camera, client interaction, editing, business, automation, and AI, and then like day of the event. Whether you're doing family shoots, maybe you're doing weddings, maybe you're doing corporate stuff, maybe you're doing senior portraits, you get it. It's like I always pull from one of those buckets. But at a higher level, I always try to focus on 3 primary areas, which is your personal branding and how we do it these days on social media with content strategies. What do we have to do? What platforms we care about? What do we have? What exactly does that translate into? So one is branding, one is business, because folks are, I don't blame anybody. When I started, I had no idea. I didn't have a business background, but it took 6 years to figure out what customer lifetime value is or whatever. Like, there's just a lot of things you kind of have to pay attention to in order to scale. If you want to be a weekend photographer and just charge $400 and that's your thing, I'm not here to tell you what to do. You should do that. On the other hand, however, like if you're looking into establishing, when I say business, this could mean a lot of things. There are photographers making $2 million a year. That is possible. And there are photographers doing 60,000 consistently. So that's the game I play, where I basically come here and share. And for me personally, it's like I focus on the guys that are like $3, $4, $5,000 up to probably $12,000 as an anchoring package. So if this is kind of your thing, if this is where you want to be, if this is you think the next step for you, then you should join us every week. I'm here live. Then you have the session stored both on Facebook and YouTube. So you can access that. With that being said, when I say stored, I think I can even probably flash something in front of you here. Let's do this. So this is the QR code. If you're watching on your desktop or your TV, you can scan and you'll get access to our group. And with that, I can actually spill the beans, because this is for those of you that are going to be watching this live. We will actually open up a new chapter. EasyProImage.com school. I'm actually establishing a community right now. There's so right now there's no, you can't just jump in and use it yet, because I'm building out the platform, laying out the courses, and when I say the courses, it's really like segments. So when you go in, it's free. There's no charge. You go in, and if there is like a section for camera, then you access that part. There's going to be a section for editing, dealing with clients. There's going to be section for branding and ads and other things. There's a lot of cool stuff upcoming. But so I encourage you, if that's something that you're interested in, join us. Like I said, right now it serves more as a wait list, just because I want to make sure I have things in place for you guys. So like when you join, you can actually dig in and just use stuff that's there. There's going to be some downloads available in terms of files I use, contracts, PDF files with, everything I could possibly think about to get you going, to accelerate your journey, right? So that's that. We took care of that business. And today, when I was posting the topic today, I'm like, holy crap, this is gonna be like a little dry. Who wants to talk about like finance or taxes, right? It's not creativity. We're not talking technology. Like we can't geek out. We can't talk about how creative we can be. And it's like taxes, business. It's dry, but let me tell you, like there's information you need to know about, right? You need to be aware, because if you're gonna wake up too late, we don't want to be dealing with any sort of financial responsibilities. We don't want to deal with IRS auditing our stuff or being contacted or questioned. Like you just want to focus on your business and leave the legal stuff to lawyers and the financial stuff to accountants. And I'm not trying to like scare you or whatever. It's just more of like, hey guys, here's a couple pointers that like you need to know or pay attention to as you get going. Life will just be easier after that. So today was really about I said taxes, but it's not really taxes. We're going to talk about whether you should be hiring a CPA, right? So the certified professional accountant, and should you have a person like this when you're starting your journey? And that's the focus for today. Like I said, if you have questions, just pop them in the comments, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. But as always, if you are here maybe for the first time, I usually try to have some sort of a slide deck. So this is what I prepared for you guys today: finances and taxes for photographers. Why finances matter just as much as photos in your business success. You got to keep track of this stuff, especially if you're going if you're going long term, if this is something you're trying to build and keep sustainable for a couple of years. Like that was my goal when I started. My hopes were not really kind of high. At the beginning, I just wanted to make like $1,000, $2,000. I'm like, I translated that in my head, and I figured if I make $1,000 or $2,000 a month, like it was kind of a big deal because it was a side thing for me, and then it just kind of grew from there. So that's what we're gonna talk about right now. The next slide here, let me just pull it up. The creative's financial reality. So those of you that are starting, and don't feel bad, I was kind of the same way when I was starting. Like I knew I had to pay taxes, but I don't think I was thinking about like a CPA. I didn't know they had to be involved. And I had that realization after a couple months, right? Because now you're starting to make money and like, it's this tax season. Do I own IRS anything? And what do I do? Who do I contact? Who can I ask? And when you're starting, it's, you have this mindset of kind of treating photography, back to the slide, treating photography as sort of like a side project, like a hobby. You have that hobby mindset, like how much do I really own? Like, do I need to do it? And the short answer to this is yes, you have to. So you made $1,000, let's say, and then somebody gave you a check. You deposited the check. Maybe you do have a business account. Maybe you don't. In either case, like you have to kind of account for that, right? So especially the number grows. Now you're doing second gig, third gig, and you don't want to be setting off any wrong flags. So it's definitely something to think about. And I'll just give you like straight up just a good piece of advice. At the beginning, I wouldn't overkill. This is a mistake I made because at one point I had this realization of season was, the tax season was coming to an end. Like normally personal taxes, you're thinking like, oh, I got to do it, right? February, March, whatever time. You usually try to extend it if you know you're going to owe or not get something. But with the business, it's a little different because it's a fiscal year from when you started. So it's like a quarterly thing. We'll get to the details just in a little bit. But I remember, the point is, I remember when I was looking to hire somebody, I just asked a friend of mine and I said, okay, I'll just go with, this. It was like a small accounting company almost. And I wasn't sure how much I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I just went and they said it's going to be whatever it was, $1,200 a year or something like that. And I said, okay, well, $1,200, that's $100 a month or whatever it was. And I said, let's go and do it. And I have a good news for you. You don't have to spend that much. That's a good thing. I overspent and I took me probably 3 years to wake up and like, oh, wow, I did a comparison. Because you know how it is. Like you go out there, you find a CPA, you settle, you give them all the documentation, they have all the paperwork, right? And then we get comfortable. At least I got comfortable. And I'm like, okay, well, that's done. But then I started looking around, started talking to other photographers. Again, this is like 3 years after I started. And I just found another accountant and she was phenomenal. And I ended up paying because I didn't have I handled my expenses pretty good in terms of like, I knew where money was coming in. I had a little spreadsheet, nothing fancy. I didn't have like a system. So I had a little spreadsheet. I had a box for my receipts and my expenses. And then I had, for like clients coming in, I was forced to, sometimes you have a client coming in, let's say in December, and you're selling something for $4,000. They give you a deposit of $1,000, and then you don't, let's say, render. You don't do the services until June, let's say, of next year. Now it's like, oh, what do we do? And later you'll find out and learn that it's all like account receivable. So you have to show that this money was collected and this money is coming next year, because it's all part of like whatever comes into your bucket of money needs to be taxed, right? So to IRS you have to show like, well, this part came in here, but this part came in here. Although on a contract it looks like one, right? So in the end, I didn't have a whole lot of transactions. Like my year two, I think it was probably at around maybe I want to say 9 weddings, and then other like family stuff and some portraits here and there. And I think I had a couple, maybe 3 shoots with local businesses, for whatever website, portfolio, LinkedIn stuff. So it wasn't a whole lot. It's not like I had to be there every month presenting my documentation. Eventually what we did was because we had to do taxes quarterly, we just had an arrangement once every 3 months. I would just come in, drop it off like an envelope with the records, the printed sheets, and then accountant would handle the rest. There's nothing to worry about. So, and in the end, the person that was handling and still is handling my accounting stuff is she's on point. I don't have to do anything. I just hand it off, and every quarter we just do the number, and we'll talk about the details here. But back to the slide, hobby mindset. but tax season, panic. Waiting until April to think about money management and tax obligations. We all get like, we're all the wake up call, right? Like, oh shoot, we got to do taxes now. So that's what we're in this reactive mode and going solo for too long, avoiding professional help until financial problems become overwhelming. Don't get there, because then it's a lot of work. Even if you're like, let's say you're starting in January, but you're waiting until like December to do all this stuff. Let me tell you, it's brutal when you have to then sit down and do the math and figure out and who, what, whatever. And with the accountant, they can tell you exactly what they need. And instead you can like now break it up and like, oh, just do it once a quarter. Maybe you're diligent. Maybe, maybe you're on point. Maybe you have the discipline. You can actually sit down and do it, every month. And then it takes you probably an hour, less than an hour to do it. That's what I would recommend that you do, because it's very little work if you can just do it, on the first of the month or whatever, and then you just hand it off to the accountant. So don't wait too long, because you may be doing stuff, you may be calculating something in your head, and especially guys, how we get advice. We get advice from the people that absolutely have no idea, right? Like everybody's advice, usually it's based on like an opinion, not facts, and especially when it comes to finances and taxes, like a lot of people don't know, right? So we make some assumptions, some assessments, and then you don't want to wake up at your in your CPA's office like, oh, holy crap, I owe this much, or like this was not an expense. So you just want to make sure that that you're on point. It's all about decreasing your cortisol, your stress levels. So the next slide here, why you need them. So yeah, it's CPAs, for obvious reasons. You stay legal and profitable, because a lot of times they'll give you an advice. They'll tell you how to kind of move money around if you start getting a lot of leads in, and it's the legal protection. It's, you don't want to step out of boundaries. You want to kind of stay on tracks. Long-term ROI. I know at the beginning, especially when you're starting, like the cost for CPA is this extra thing, right? Like even if it's $300-400, we're starting. We try to spend as little as possible. But one thing to keep in mind is like the payment that you're the fee that goes to your CPA is already tax deductible. Like it's part of the business. It's your business expense. So it's not after tax money. It's your pre-tax money, which is great, because that's really the name of the game. And professional guidance pays for itself through strategic tax planning. And it will, even if like the upfront expense is, let's say, $350 a year. I guarantee your CPA will give you an advice on expenses, on your write-offs, that will definitely save you more than the $350 you invest. You may miss stuff, and we're going to talk about like what is a write-off, what can you actually write off, and you will see like, oh wow, I didn't know that was a write-off, right? So I'll use some examples there, but I can tell you like when I sat down with my CPA, he initially told me, just pointed out things where I'm like, whoa, I didn't realize that this is how it works. Like, so look at it as a long-term investment, not a short-term investment. And that should help you, kind of jump over the fence of like, oh, I know it's extra, especially when you're starting. But then once you get going, it's just part of the business. If you're paying $350, that's $35 a month, and you can sleep at night. So definitely recommend it. What's your CPA? What do they do? Right. So a couple things here that I wanted to point out: expense tracking. So monitor business expenses and advises on quarterly tax payments. I already mentioned that. So let's say you have a cardboard box, you throw all your receipts in. You just grab that, and then probably you have some sort of a sheet or maybe written down on the paper. Let's say you have 10 clients your first year, which kind of should be a goal. Don't expect to have 100 on day one. So you basically take the spreadsheet or the written notes, and you just hand it off to the CPA. If she has any questions, you're not responsible for asking questions, assuming you have a CPA that knows what they're doing. It's the CPA that should be asking you questions and guiding you. So that's super nice. Compliance management keeps you legally compliant with all tax regulations and filing requirements. they will make sure that, you know, when you register your LLC, that your payments are made. Like, they stay on top of you. And it's great because you don't have to remember that there is a tax form that needs to be filled out every year or every 3 years or whatever. So CPAs, they already know that, especially later on, like when your business grows, you can actually find a CPA that helps photographers specifically. And these guys may be more expensive. It could be $600-700, but I got to tell you, like, it's the next level of, you know, you don't want to go there from day one. Regular CPA is fine, but those higher level guys will give you even more strategies and things on how to approach things. So fillings, regulations, let's see what else we have here. Strategic guidance, you know, answer, can I write this off? You guys know this is like the number one question. Everybody's trying to write something off. And we'll talk about why, right? But it's, once you do it, a lot of times you think you're right. You can Google it and think you're right. And your CPA may tell you, like, don't do it, you know, because they have records, they have evidence, they are doing this with businesses all the time. They know what passes and what doesn't pass. So you want to have that confidence. Like, when I ask my CPA, can we do it? And if it's something on the fence, I still don't do it. Like, I rather stay on the safe side than risk and do something stupid and then regret it, or pay, you know, fees and taxes and penalties. And so that's very important. And then records, breakdown, account receivable. This is money flowing in this year. Very important, because to us, you know, as a photographer, we sign a contract. The contract is for, you know, $4,000. And now it's like, oh, okay, so now $4,000 and that goes into my income. It doesn't. It only part of it goes into your income, because usually, especially with like weddings, clients will book you, in like a year and a half prior to the actual wedding. That's not uncommon. Like, we've had clients signing up 2.5 years prior to the wedding. Over time, you become busy. Your calendar becomes busy. And clients recognize that, and they will book 2.5 years, prior to their wedding. And that's also true with other, if you're going to be shooting, let's say, product, or, you know, with local businesses, they may have a marketing campaign schedule. I remember we were working with one of the businesses. Most recent client was in Connecticut, and they had a show, like an expo, and we were photographing a product. In that case, it was like a shotgun. And they had an expo coming up, and they had this whole, like, almost project in place where photography was only part of it, and we had to show up. And also, it was like a 12, 14, probably 14, if not 16 months prior to us actually showing up on location. So then you have to know, and, you know, sometimes they make, because you're dealing now with a business, not an individual, it's a little different, because they may be paying, you know, maybe they're paying monthly, maybe they're paying quarterly. So let your accountant handle it. You don't have to worry about it. You just show up with, you know, a box, you drop it on your CPA's desk, and that is really it. Peace of mind. And then the write-offs. So everybody, you know, is asking this. So let's go through a couple examples here, and I would be unfair if I didn't show you the slide. So this just examples, and don't quote me, because it's different from state to state. So let's talk about, like, there's like essential deductions, and deductions that, like, hidden opportunities that most folks don't know about. If you know about them, great. If you know some write-offs that, you know, that you, like, learned over time about, please put it in the comments. I want to know, because the name of the game is, you know, if you can expense something and lower your income tax, the tax is only being applied to what you put in your pocket. But if it's business related, then obviously you deduct that first. So there's money coming in, there's expenses that, you know, you pay for business, and then the rest is your income, to which we apply taxes. For some people, that's second nature. They know it. For me, it was like I had a lot of question marks, like what can I use? So essential deductions is camera gear and equipment, obviously, right? Like that's naturally when you're buying stuff, when you're paying for, I have software subscriptions. So let's say, you know, at the very basic level, you have your camera, you have your lenses, you have your lighting or whatever. You buy some bags, maybe stuff to carry equipment, like that's obvious, right? And then software for Lightroom, Photoshop, you're paying for software, maybe some AI tools these days. and that's also an automatic deduction. Education and workshops. If you're taking classes, if you're hiring a mentor, you can deduct that from your business expenses. So it's not post after tax money, it's all pre-tax money because it's an investment towards your business. Guess what? If we had, if you and me work together and now we're meeting for like a training session, now things get really interesting because I'm in Florida. I used to be in Connecticut, but let's just use that example. Let's say you're in Connecticut, you're flying over to me for a training session. Guess what? It's not only the training that's tax deductible. Now you're talking about your flight that's tax deductible. Now you're talking about your meals on the way that are tax deductible. You're talking, depending on the car. Now you can write off some mileage from your car, and your CPA will know. For every state, it's a little different, but there is like a per mile charge that you can write off from your taxes because you're heading over to a business meeting. So when you get here, as long as you're not staying with me, you will have to pay for your accommodations, which is your hotel. So any expense that you can now bundle into this, like I'm traveling for, and obviously you have to be reasonable, and CPA will slap your hand, will say, no, you can't include that in there. But now you can see how like things, just things that we don't naturally think about. So it's not just the education, it's not just the course that you're purchasing, it's not training you're buying, it's like anything related to that. So travel expenses, I mentioned that, and now hidden opportunities, I already mentioned the mileage to like shoots. So whenever you're leaving, going to a wedding, you're traveling, like we would always, I wouldn't track like exact from the odometer in my car. But as I was like, imagine like I'm sitting planning a wedding, I would just pop it into maps, like Google Maps, and see the distance because it gives you mileage, right? And then I would say, okay, from point A, let's say we go to the church, and from church we go to the whatever reception, and then, or like maybe bride's house, church, reception, maybe somewhere in between we're going to take some formals. And I would just like take a rough, calculation of how many miles. And every wedding, I would then pop it into an Excel sheet and say my accountant would then take the total. And if you're doing now 10 events, 20 events, 30 events, 40 events, like you guys will be shocked. It adds up to a pretty good chunk, usually a couple thousand, just from miles. And now the other thing is, what about the car, right? So that's a big one that folks ask about. And again, just for the record, I'm not here to give you a legal advice or financial advice, right? But like when you talk to your CPA, you can ask about the car expense. Because I can tell you in Connecticut, for example, if you purchased a vehicle that exceeded certain weight, so it had to be like an SUV or like a van, but it had a certain weight. And at that point, it would be considered like for the type of business that you have, photographer, like you have to, you carry your gear to and from the wedding, right? Sometimes you're carrying not just camera and whatever, but it's like lighting, stands, sometimes speakers. We would carry screens, sometimes TVs. So it's totally tax deductible. This is now a business vehicle, right? And as long as you're not using it for pleasure, it's your business vehicle, you can essentially go out, buy the car, and then expense it. The nice thing about it is, imagine, normally if you were purchasing a car, it would be with your after-tax money. So when you're buying pre-tax money, depending on the tax bracket you're in, but usually you're saving about, around 30%, which is a big deal because now the vehicle costs less. So again, it's a state-by-state regulation, but it's like people normally don't think that this is even available. And like if you're really planning on some people actually buy a vehicle for that reason. So if you're like going full time, let's say maybe you're scaling from this, maybe you did some gigs, now you're like serious about it, like I totally can grow it into $140,000, $160,000 a year investment business. Then yeah, definitely you should look into things like that. What else? A home office, like things that people don't normally think about. When you're using your cell phone, when you're using your internet connection, when there's again, your CPA will tell you exactly, but anything you're working from your home. So there's ask your CPA. Maybe you could be part of your energy bill. Maybe internet, maybe phone, like I said. So just ask. I think in some states you can even write off part of, like, you live here, but part of the house is utilized for the office. Like, I'm sitting in the office right now where I only work. I don't sleep in this room. I don't eat in this room. Well, sometimes, but you know what I mean. You can bundle those in as well. And then for some of you guys, it will be, I mentioned, styled shoot expenses, right? So those are like, maybe you're doing baby photography or family photography. Maybe you're doing Christmas mini sessions, and you're buying decorations, backdrops, some gadgets for, like, for people to take, to include in your sessions, your mini sessions. Everything like that is tax deductible. Buy it with your pre-tax money, and then only apply tax to what's left. What else here I had? Also advertising. If you're running Facebook ads, for example, YouTube ads, the same thing applies. And it's very important because sometimes people just forget. They run an ad and it's like they spend money weekly, daily, monthly, whatever it is. That's also a write-off. If you're not running ads yourself, maybe you have an agency running ads, another business expense, right? We can go on and on. Business meals, I already mentioned that. Your CPA will tell you what you're going to be safe with. So, like, don't overthink it. It's not like you're going to go out and now do your grocery shopping and bundle it under your business name. That's not possible. But there's, certain lunches. Maybe you're meeting with clients. It's like, as long as you can relate it to a business expense, a business meeting, then obviously it's definitely something you can do. So that's, as far as write-offs, I think we're good. Again, if you have any questions, if you're in Facebook group right now watching live, or in the event, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can just pop it into comments, or actually on YouTube you can put it under chats. I think I have it here. Let me just quickly check what's going on here. Yeah, so you can put it in the chat if you have any questions. Hopefully I can answer before we jump off. But comments, always use comments for additional feedback, because I can go back and I can DM you directly or send you a message or respond to a comment on YouTube. Our next slide here is the real world tax breakdown. So I keep saying this pre-tax, post-tax, or whatever, or tax income. I just wanted to do like a visual example. So if the business, you're now year, let's say 3-4 into the business, you bring 100K, and then you can show that you have 60K in business expenses, then your taxable income is only 40,000. So you're not being taxed on 100K, you're being taxed on 40. And like I said, this is name of the game. If you can show that this is business related, some people go heavy on this. Like, I know studio owners, I know gym owners that like find places that they can actually, stay at. So obviously, for some of you guys, if you're married and kids, don't make them move into the gym or rent an office space and move them there. But you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you are 22 and maybe you're looking for an opportunity. Maybe you're moving towns or something. You can find places where your rent now becomes your business expense. Very important, because you're saving a lot of money. If your rent is, let's say you move to San Diego and you rent out a little space studio, and you're starting fresh, that 2K can become a tax write-off. So I really get kind of worked up and like super energetic about it, because it's almost like becomes almost like a game. What else can I write it off? And again, your CPA is there to hold that string, because you're going to be like the kite all over the place, flying with ideas of what else you can write off. You only pay taxes on what's left out for legitimate business expenses. You guys know that already. And then the next thing here is planned quarterly. I just wanted to briefly mention this because it's a little different than like our personal taxes. So your CPA will take you through the process, but essentially avoid April shock. Again, I'm not going to get into fiscal year. This is regular calendar year. It all depends on when you start your business. So CPA will explain that. Avoid April shock. No more one massive scary tax bill year end. Yes, They can even do something like, because depending, if you're starting, your business can be kind of all over the place. You know, 1 month you may have 3 events and then 0 events. So in that case, you have to establish something with the CPA where they can even do like a estimated quarterly sort of tax responsibility, and you can then just do quarterly payments, and you never run the risk of like, holy crap, I just ended up with like $6,000 bill in the end. So that's just, you know, something you guys definitely have to have in mind. Manageable chunks, break annual tax obligation into smaller payments. I said that already. And then professional guidance. Your CPA will calculate exactly what and when to pay. I love it just because it's like this, guardian angel standing over you and just slapping you every time you. But you want to make sure that your legal recourse, your legal trajectory is correct. You don't want to mess around with local taxes and federal institutions. So it's super important, and that's what your CPA will do for you. One thing to mention, because like I already said, it's different from state to state. You know, we are in Florida, and we love it here. And you know what? Florida doesn't have income tax. So in Connecticut, it was totally different. It was federal income tax, and in Florida, income tax. No income tax in Florida. So if you're eventually moving down here, or maybe you're planning on doing photography down here, definitely a benefit, right? Because it could be a big chunk. In Connecticut, I think it was 7.5. I can't remember exactly, but another question CPA will answer for you. So that's one thing. And income tax is one thing, and people usually think of federal and state just because they do it anyway on their W-2 as as your regular employee. Those are the only two you're responsible for. But there are other taxes too. So, for example, sales tax. And here's the fun thing with the sales tax. When you're doing, because at one point in my life, I also did like video services, video productions. And with video, you can actually, it's kind of funny how it works, but like if let's say you're at the same event and there is a videographer and a photographer, right? Let's say at the wedding. Videographer can actually take the footage, film it, and can go back home, edit the whole thing, and then can can take the digital copy, the file essentially, and can put it out on a server and provide a link to a client, and it's considered digital copy. There's really no product in the end. Again, question for your CPA, depending on what state you are. But like in Connecticut, it was this thing where, if there's no product, even if you would put that thing on a DVD, let's say this is years ago, even if you put it on a DVD, it makes it a product. If it stays digital and on a server, it's not. And again, don't quote me, check with the CPA, but videographer will be able to get away from without paying the sales tax, but photographer, there was no condition. Like all photographers were required to include their sales tax in their pricing. We would always try to make it super easy for clients and just kind of include it in the price. So client wouldn't be like, here's your price, but here's your sales tax, here's another whatever charge. Like we would just say, hey, it's like $4,600. And that's what they would pay. And then on back end, we would figure out like, okay, sales tax is this much, this is this much. So that's essentially what it is. But like sales tax is another thing. Also, use tax obligations. Not a lot of people know about use tax. I didn't. So if you don't worry. But the thing is, use tax obligations. This is when you buy stuff. You know how you go online sometimes. We buy a lot of things from like B&H in New York, right? And there was time, and still, depending on what companies you're dealing with, especially if it's overseas, sometimes, you buy stuff from Amazon, it's questionable. Again, your CPA is your guide. When you buy equipment, it seems like, it's better because I skip the in-store sales, like their sales tax. So you don't pay sales tax when you purchase something, but it's something that can bite you in the butt. Because you may not care, the store may not care, but let me tell you, IRS and local authorities will care. So use tax is something that CPAs are fluent in, And when you're doing that, it's like, just make sure, because when you give them receipts and everything you're purchasing, everything you're claiming as your business expense, you can then present it to your CPA, and CPA will tell you, are you responsible for that or not? And local business licenses. This one is kind of weird and tricky, but this is the last item here on the slide. Local business license certifications, LLCs. So LLCs, obviously there is a annual fee that you guys pay, but the certification, sometimes there's like a local, and it's usually like a county. Florida is big with their counties, and it could be different from county to county. Depending on the state, some states are more sensitive, some states are less sensitive. But there may be like a certification fee. There could be some sort of like a nonsense renewal thing. And guess what? Like with those local things, it could be like a $35 fee. But if you don't pay it, you're going to pay $500 penalty on $35. So it's like, you just want to make sure, again, the CPA will tell you like, this is, what you need to care about. So they're fluent in the tax law, right? And local law. So again, something that, you can put on your list when you're searching for one. You can flag it. And then the next slide here is, don't think of it as an expense. Like, I hope you've heard enough to have that realization that it's just protection, right? Like, you wouldn't be going in and purchasing something expensive, putting your business on the line, just kind of, hoping that your gut is right. Like, you guys, it's all legal. There's contracts involved. Like, same way as you have a lawyer, same way as you have a contract with your client. CPA, highly advise you, because it gives you just peace of mind, and they're there to check, whatever your assumptions you have. And you have to treat it as like same as you pay, insurance on the business or something, or same way as you need a camera. You almost need to calculate this cost in. And I advise you, maybe not on day one, but as you start becoming more busy and you start filling in your calendar, definitely look into it. Look at it as an investment. And the nice thing about it is, remember, you're building your photography business. And let's say at the very beginning, let's say you're 22, you're starting, or younger, right? I think I was 22, 21, somewhere around there. But no, probably older. But you're starting at the beginning. It's just you, right? So that kind of makes it easy. But as you grow, you may have an assistant, you may have somebody that works with you, you may start outsourcing work. Guess what happens after that? Like, you get to the point where not all work falls on you. You just need to focus on what you do best, which is growing your business, maybe doing photography still. But you may even have other photographers working with you. You may have editors working with you. You may have assistants handling the communication, the website, the social media. Like, eventually that's what happens if you want to scale and grow. If you want to bring your business to like a $1 million business, it's not just going to be you. Like, you're going to build a team. And again, this is only if that's what you're going to go after. Some people may say, you know what, I make 100K and that's good enough for me. I don't want a team. I can handle it myself. Maybe hire one like virtual assistant and just work kind of that way. But what my point is, when you have a CPA, everything, the books are kept correctly and nicely and neatly. There's two things. You may actually, in the end, don't be shocked, but you may hire a person that runs the business. And at that point, you become business owner, not business operator, right? And if everything is laid out, person comes in, it's so easy to look at it, and they can actually run the business. Let's use another example. So now we're on the opposite side of the scale. You're not 22, you're 52, and you're thinking of like, hey, retiring and just leaving it, right? And at that point, you can basically hire an operator. You have photographers in place. You can still you then become an owner of the business. You don't run it. You're just present, right? Everything is on the books. And the super nice thing about it is, if you ever decided to sell the business, let's say you're done with the business, you're not driven anymore, but the business still operates. Clients are still coming in, leads are still coming in, photographers are shooting, editors are editing, and you just want to like, I'm just going to kick back and relax on the island. You can take that entity and actually sell it to somebody. And the first thing they're going to ask you is like, hey, give me last 5 or 7 years worth of books. And if something you're doing on yourself, you lose that opportunity, because it has to be on paper. It has to be legit, just because this is what they go through first. Their first question they're going to ask is like, we'll buy the business, but is it profitable? Right? And the nice thing is, if you have a business that generates, let's say, $250,000 a year, you go through the X factor, meaning when you sell the business, you're usually looking at the multiplication of what the business brings every year. So you sell it for the 3-time revenue or the 4-time revenue, so you can actually sell it higher. But the first thing they're going to ask is like, is it profitable? Show us the books. Like, very first question. Nobody buys businesses that are not profitable. So think like a business owner. In the end, like, this is part of your system. I would just work it in, integrate it in, and just continue going. And then I think the last slide, I listed some steps. You guys know at this point. Start today. Begin tracking all income and expenses. Have the box. Have the little spreadsheet. At the beginning is small. Find an accountant. Don't look for anything crazy. Work with one accountant, local, that maybe somebody recommends. Maybe they have some good reviews on Google. Start with them, and then they will even be able to help you, because they know other accountants. As your business grows, as the more questions you have, you will see for yourself. If they cannot comply, they don't know the answers to all of your questions. The bigger you grow, the more questions you're going to have. At one point, if you outgrow your CPA, you can always switch. Schedule at least one annual meeting with your qualified professional. You have to. I at one point did it quarterly, then we did annually. I think annually is fine, depending on your operations. If it's bigger, probably more often. If it's smaller, not. Optimize strategy. Ask about legal ways to minimize your tax burden. They will have ideas. Like, and I'll give you an example. They may, maybe you're bringing money in, and now you're like, you don't have expenses, right? You brought 100K, and like, I got the equipment, everything is paid for. Like, I can't produce more expenses. Don't be shocked if the CPA will then turn around and say, we're going to open up a solo 401k, because there's a huge advantage with solo 401k, because personally, there is a cap on how much, as an employee working for somebody, you can put into your 401k, right? But with solo 401k, when you run your business and it's now 401k linked to your LLC, this is you personally, I think the cap is like 4 times as big. So like, especially when you're starting, at 22, this can result in a lot of money later. So, and again, how do I learn this? I wasn't born knowing this information. It's all from a CPA, and they will kind of dictate, show you the ropes, tell you the ideas, because that's what they do. That's the environment they live in. And guess what? That concludes the finance, tax. This was supposed to be dry, but I think it's actually super helpful. It's just part of the business. It's part of the cost. Do it. By all means, I highly recommend. You can find, is it this site, on that side, where to find me. You guys can find me on Facebook. Just go to the profile, DM me. You can find me in the Facebook group. We actually have something brewing up for you guys, but that's not something I can't spill yet. But here's where you can find me. Same thing on YouTube. Leave comments, because this is the only way, I then know what to focus on. If you guys are stuck somewhere and we need to sort of unkink that hose so the water keeps flowing, let me know. Other than that, I just wanted to thank you. It means a lot that you're here. And join me next Thursday, 12 o'clock. I'll see you then. Bye.